Welcome back, Mighty Mighty Souls. Thought I'd do a video today on anger because I woke up very upset today. And then I was looking up the definition of anger, and a strong feeling of being upset or annoyed because of something wrong or bad. The feeling that makes someone want to hurt other people, to shout, etc. And then I look up at the definition of happy, a feeling of pleasure and enjoyment because of life situations. And both of them kind of come down to this life situations, right? And because I guess my isolation here, living alone and whatnot, I just want to maybe just talk out loud to myself about anger and why these things cause us triggers and trauma in our everyday life. I just thought, though, that the definition of anger was so much longer than happy that something just clicked a little bit. Like, you don't want to live there. There's too much to explain about that. So like I was saying, I woke up, I was very upset. And a buddy had called me, and I just let out all my aggression in his direction, which is completely wrong. It's like, here I am, I get out of bed. I'm Steven. For whatever reason, what's going on in my top mind awareness is F you to these people. And they're causing an emotional response that's not where I want to be. My buddy calls me. How you doing? I want to check up, and I just want to just unload all of this onto him in his direction and push shit externally on people. And it's like you're holding this, right? You're holding this storm cloud, let's say, of anger and hostility towards other people. You want to shout or hurt them, and it's because you're hurting. And he fired back at me because fire fights fire with fire at times. And I was like, whatever, we got off the phone. He had sent me a text like, what's that poison? How do you turn it into medicine? And, I wanted to text back something that he would say to me, something outrageous that didn't have anything to do with it. But he didn't. And I was laying down to go back to sleep. And then this thought, this clarity hit me. It was like, why do I let external circumstances dictate my well-being? Why do I let you make me feel a certain way about myself? And then it just kind of left me when I asked myself that question. And I fell asleep, and maybe it was like 10 o'clock a.m. And in the dream, I was picking people up, and there's faulty brakes backing out of the driveway. I'm hitting the brakes, but no, things going like 20 feet longer than where I'm stopping at. And it just kind of reminded me, if you want to go down that path, you don't need brakes. We'll take you there. And so I woke up from the dream, I felt better. And I was like, what are the causes of this anger, this feeling of annoyance, of wanting to hurt other people, of wanting to shout, And I've been shouting in my head, and I shouted out loud to my friend obscenities that are terrible. And you feel like you should unload these things. Well, I'm carrying them up here, and I'm going to unload them. So my number one problem with anger that starts with is I give people a role to play. Like, I expect certain things from them. Like I expect of myself. Say you're gonna do something on this time and then you don't fucking do it, and then you ignore me and ignore the like that. That floors me, man. It pushes me all the way down, and anger just ensues and explodes. And it's like that. Second, it's like that thought is on replay in my top 10. More than 60%. It's blaring. And it's like it's causing an emotional response. And again, it's like what I just wrote down. It's like, why do I let you dictate my well-being? Because I'm mad at you, because you didn't live up to my expectations. And then the thought keeps creeping in. And then you can add on, like, I didn't sleep well because I went golfing and my allergies had both my nostrils completely stuffed. And then your tongue gets dried out. So I couldn't sleep at all. For, like, the isolation, I'm talking to you, Sheila. Galaxy S10. So you're experiencing these thunderclouds, the thoughts on replete, you didn't sleep, I didn't smoke barely at all yesterday. And then I just woke up today and I was so pissed off, and there was nobody here to be like, hey, why don't we go do this? Or, hey, here's a coffee. Or, hey, you ever hear this song? Like, hey, let's change your directive. So the causes of anger were not coming from me like I wasn't pissed off at myself. There's times we self-love and we're mad at ourselves. And I think that more turns into a sadness. I think anger is more directed, like it says in the definition, it's directed at others for their shortcomings. And so when I woke up from that dream, I was like, why don't we just assess this, and what were the causes of this? Why did you feel a certain way that's causing you now to walk around with a vibration and a storm cloud over you, wanting to direct this thunder and fucking lightning at people? That's not what I want to do to them. So we were talking about the definition of anger and happiness, and how, man, the happiness is so small, right, compared to the anger definition. And this one cat up north, he asks, well, what makes you happy? And when I responded to him, I'm not an FB all that often, but when someone asks a question, that's a very good way to engage everybody else and, get some more people involved in community. And all these people are answering what makes them happy. And I just thought of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the Declaration, right? You got 1, 2, 3. And I was like, I didn't know this was hiding. That I had to pursue it. That I had to I got to go out here, and if I just go here and do these things, I'll find it. And you just think that's so unbalanced. Because like I was talking about before I went to that little nap at 10 a.m., I was like, why am I letting them dictate external circumstances my well-being? Why do I have to search for this? Why is it hiding? Isn't it right in front of me, always there in abundance and a renewable resource if I would just acknowledge it? And instead of acknowledging that it's there, you want to search for it. So you're saying to the universe, you're like, I don't have this shit. I need to find it over there. Past that mountain, that river. I got to drive a couple days, but I'm going to get there. And then this reinforcement of a victim role comes up again in your playlist, causing anger. So instead of succumbing to the victim, how can we transcend to the hero? Because that's where we want to be. Nobody wants to be a victim. We want to, where there's a wrong, we'll right it. You know what I mean? If I have, I will provide. As every human being feels like. So, I just came up with these a couple minutes ago, but one is like free will. Like you can choose like, do I want to be the victim with emotion or the hero and think logically? And that's tough, man. Emotion is so. The reason you have strong memories wired and fired is because there's a great emotion felt at that certain moment in time in the past where you're like, I will never forget when these words were said to me because this emotion came over you. But you know in the back of your head what logic is saying is the right answer. And people are like, follow the heart, listen to the mind. You've got to listen to both, but if this emotion is so strong, you gotta ride that wave. You gotta harness it, right? Not put you down, crush you. Ride it, surf it. If this is so strong that I can say obscenities about people that have wronged me, that haven't come up to my expectations where I had put them to live there, and it's got me into a state that's so strong that I'm yelling at people that want to help me, then that power of emotion can be flipped into positiveness. But you've got to be aware that if it's that strong, it can be that strong on one side, it can be that strong on the other. It's kind of an amazing thing when you think about the dictation of your life, feeling of pain, of pleasure, of nostalgia, of love, of hate, of lack, of abundance. And if you can harness it more in a top mind awareness in your top 10 and 40% of it's only negative and 60% is on the up, you're doing better. But getting out of this victim role into the hero, I have the free will to choose to say I'm sorry. And, and this is something I never did when I was younger. I was always right. You were wrong. You didn't see things my way. And if I just said these two words, in a split second, forgiveness, an understanding, a bond. And that comes from me not seeing you as me. And now I try to have that top mind awareness of doing that. But I always tell people, I think of 8 Mile, the movie with Eminem, and he's going up against Papa Doc in the end. He goes first, and he says every terrible thing about himself. And the guy's like, well, what do I say? He just said everything terrible. So, like, when you do bad things or you feel you're beating yourself up in anger instead of looking at other people, like, if I would have done this, I would be better, and they wouldn't be mad at me. But because I don't have that, I'll yell at them and direct it. If you just say you're sorry, people forgive, man. They know you're just human. And if you can acknowledge that to them and make them feel right, the anger subsides and there's an understanding and surrendering. Number 4 of getting out of the victim role into a hero is reminding myself to love myself. Thank myself for the accomplishments I had this week. Write them down on the board, make them physical. Thank my eyes for seeing the beauty that's North Carolina. Our flowers are out and blooming, daisies and all. Your ears for hearing beautiful music, your tongue for touching a beautiful medium rare steak, your heart telling your mind I love you and vice versa, your feet for carrying you every day. See your 8-year-old self come up to you and say, I'm proud of you, I love you, give you a hug. That'll drop those feelings of anger, of hostility, of shouting at other people. Because it's like, you want to release this. You have this cloud of anger and you want to hurt other people because you're hurting too. And so you're heavy. You're heavy in a 3D presence. You're holding this as you can really feel it. And it's like, if you just breathe, which nobody likes to hear, you need to take a deep breath. That's what comes out. And it's like, you don't have to take one deep breath. You need to take like 50. Maybe not that many, but When you let all that other stuff go and you just breathe, you leave the ego. You leave Stephen. You just breathe and you're like, I'm just going to focus on this. I'm going to relax and remind myself where I really reside at. Like, this is just one aspect of who I am. And if I choose with my free will to live in that anger state of this aspect, then that will be dominant because it's my choice. So this is all good, but what happens when you come back, right? You're back to being a 3D avatar, Steven. And you've done these other processes and you're like, well, how do I keep going there? And it's like, just live in thankfulness. Again, like your eyes for seeing this beautiful landscape of, then I'm able to eat Argentina shrimp tonight for $10.99 with some beautiful vegetables. Super thankful that I have internet and I can watch Full Swing tonight. I got gas in my car. That I do have people in my life that care about me and text me and call me every day. Feeling of contentment leads to receiving instead of giving out this signal of, I don't have, I lack, it's their fault. And that leads to number 7. It's like, once you get to this point where you can finally see yourself, like you can love yourself. Seeing your 8-year-old self give you a hug and say, I'm proud of what you did. I'm proud of where you're at and I love you. That's when you can see others. Because until that point, if you're just blinded and, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, that's the next card. If you're constantly living in that anger cloud, annoyance, displeasure, hostility, all this good stuff's over here on the back burner. And then you forgot it. Forget. And it's like, even though this is happening, weather patterns come and go and they move on. But this is just you. This is Steven on the 3D. And you have free will. And I can choose to live there. Or I can live here. And that's a hard place to get to. Because we all know what we're capable of, even when we're super angry and we want to shout at other people, we know that's not like our true essence of where we could be at. But we decide to tell ourselves this story and live there, and we forget that everything's all good. That the human body is put together perfectly. That we have enough to eat. That we have lights. That we have internet. That we have people that care about us. So I guess I want to go there, we're so powerful that we can choose. We can choose our heaven or hell. Whatever we want, we can create. If I want to be angry and upset, I'll be angry and upset. Misery loves company, and let's roll down that road. click down on that. Let's go down the roller coaster. And instead, like, if we wake up angry and upset, for me, like, I open up the news when I go to the bathroom, like, and if it bleeds, it leads. And I see somebody doing something completely out of line, somebody got arrested or blah, 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 human trafficking and all this. And then I say to myself, I'm like, oh, I was like, I'm better than them. Those are terrible people. Terrible, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't for them. But that doesn't fill the void. What, that I'm right, you're wrong? I told you, I'm better than you, I'm right. That's why I'm angry. That's not where anybody wants to live. Wouldn't you rather be next to me going in agreement simultaneously, like, that's right, tell me again? I love hearing that. So it's a weird place to get over anger. It's like, or my number one fault of giving people expectations, expecting them to live up to them. And it's like, I can yell at you and be like, hey, didn't you receive that? I told you that 2 weeks ago. What do you mean? Do I have to write it down? Do I have to show you in hieroglyphics? I'm better than you are. Let me tell you about it. And you're never going to get through. Because that person is at that point where it's saying, if you can't love yourself or your current circumstances, there's no way you'll ever see me. No way. So if I can't get through it there, because people have free will, the only way to fight this is through quantum. The dark Wi-Fi. Some people call it prayer. If there's an electromagnetism about my aurora and my thoughts going out, they have substance and strength. And instead of putting out that anger when I'm yelling obscenities about you, waking up, dictating my emotional behavior, I can instead calm down, breathe, remember that my higher self is always good, connect, and just, instead of telling you, waving my finger and like a red flag at a bull come at me, I'll just be subtle about it. Make it easy. Let the anger dissipate and just say, this is the best I can fight it, and I know you're me, and I love you. And kind of came down, I was listening to one of my flows, and it was just like, just serve. Don't hold a feeling of I deserve. If we just give 51% of ourselves, 51, that ain't a lot, towards everybody else over ourselves, we're going to jump in vibration and consciousness, in my belief. And just serving other people, man. When you bring out the best in others, you bring out the best in yourself. And don't hold that I mantra, me, playing the victim role. If it wasn't for them, things would be good, blah, blah, blah. There's always plenty. Abundance reigns. Just what story are we telling ourselves? Just figured I'd just talk about anger a little bit because I was upset this morning and I was glad it only just was the morning. But I hope that helps. Maybe you understand. Smile big, shine bright.